Welcome to another new episode of the Declutter Me podcast with myself, Shalina. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to the wonderful Lisa Sherrington-Boyd, who is also known as Principal Lisa, and that's where I first got to know about her, and then also known as the Potty Queen. If you're not following her on social media, you must, just for the pooping videos, the pillow pooping videos. Lisa is an ex-nursery school principal in Dubai and has been working with babies and children in a variety of ways for the last 30 years. Using her amazing skills, she helps potty training, toilet training, sleep training as well, and also providing Nanny Queen services to help families struggle with toddler or child behaviour. So I wanted to chat to her about her life before and now, and also to get some tips on how to help any of you parents dealing with toddlers and children in a stressful situation currently. So welcome, Lisa, to the Declutter Me podcast.
Thank you.
I've never had a principal, so this is very exciting to have as a guest a principal. So hi, how are you?
Oh, it's lovely to be here. This is a podcast that we should have done ages ago, and I've been waiting for the chance to meet you because I'm a great fan of your wonderful work in helping families create spaces that enable them to feel a bit better. So it's wonderful to meet you virtually.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, no, we've been talking about this for a year now. I think it's been like, but just time goes, doesn't it? Like, and we've got so many people to help. But yeah, first let's talk about you. All right. So you were a principal. How did you get to be a principal? Like, what makes you think, let's become a principal?
Well, I think my family would say I was born bossy.
All right.
So even as a child, I would be lining up my teddies and dollies into classrooms. You know, I mean, I had like a Dewey Decimal library system at home, you know, like for my books. And
right.
So I think that there has always been a part of me that wanted to sort of, you know, help people. And
right.
My mother would also say that I was always somebody growing up that wanted to help other people. And so if there was anybody in our community that may be facing any challenges, they were the ones that I wanted to invite round for tea. So it's been a long road of that. But when you're a teacher, you love what you do and you're always in your classroom loving. You feel like you'll never, ever want to leave the classroom. But then you get older and it's time to take on those leadership roles and allow the younger teachers to take over in the classroom. And so that's how it kind of naturally goes into.
Right. Oh, okay. Amazing. So that's how you then went outside of the principal sphere. But how did you get to be a potty queen?
So I first took up a leadership role, and that very first day I felt kind of sad because I wasn't in the classroom in the thick of it.
Right.
And you think, oh no, so does that mean I'm never going to be back in the classroom? And somebody gives you a radio mic, and not a microphone, but a radio, and you run around to school dealing with things and fixing things, and you feel like, oh, I've truly made it. Yeah. And you walk into the classroom and you feel kind of sad that you're not in there. But then you realise that teachers get sick, and guess who has to do the cover?
Right.
So actually you never really leave the classroom because you end up having to go in and do the cover. And
right.
That's what really led me into doing what I'm doing now, is that in 2019, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, a spine disease called ankylosing spondylitis, which left me at this point in a wheelchair.
Right.
And really wanted to continue my work. But I was going around the nursery on a Zimmer frame or a wheelchair. And it was a day in which two of my teachers couldn't come to school and they were sick. And I was managing a class of 2-year-olds, with a few assistants, but still. And I thought, I don't know that I can do this anymore. I think I have got to face it. I've got this illness, which is degenerative and it's going to get worse. And I had 4 spine surgeries over those coming few months, and I ended up in ICU. And I was in ICU for about 3 weeks. I was trying to run to school with my mobile, leaving voice notes, trying to manage the school. And I just thought, this isn't going to work. And then COVID hit, didn't it, in 2020, in February. And I'd gone back to school and I was in my wheelchair in January 2020. And I was really sad inside. I felt like something was dying, like that old me was just dying. You know, I was so ill.
Yeah.
COVID hit. They closed our school. And the whole world changed, as you know. And I had 180 children that I suddenly needed to educate from home. That was 180 families who were desperate in need of support, who couldn't cope. And so everything I'd ever learned in running workshops for families, all of that help was suddenly extremely useful.
Yeah. Oh,
and then that's when I thought, do you know what? This is a gift from God, really, because I can't be that old person anymore because I don't have the health.
Yeah.
So this is the future. This is the new me. And I've been potty training children for 30 years. And I thought, I reckon I can do this virtually.
Yeah.
And so I did.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like the things that have happened. I mean, COVID's been so bad, but then the things that have happened come out of it to allow us to do other things and to, you know, to talk and Zoom, and it's just amazing. I mean, like I started doing podcast episodes via Zoom because it was just easier than getting the guests in. So, it's amazing. And I remember you. That's how I found out about you, because we have mutual friends, and you were sick and you were in hospital, and then we were all sending prayers and everything. I remember, that was the first time I heard of you, and then you became Potty Queen, and that's been it, really, isn't it? So let's talk about potty training as we're talking about it. So I've seen it in action recently with children, with clients' children, and also with my friends' kids and my nephews. I'm lucky to walk away, but I've had pee on me. Especially, I had pee on me last week from a kid who's potty training right now. So I've experienced it to a point, but how early can potty training start? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, I have quite controversial opinions about potty training. And I think in the beginning, I stood alone in my opinions. But I'm noticing more and more that people are beginning to shift towards them. So you're hearing it first on Shalina's podcast of what the future of potty training is actually going to look like.
Right, okay. Oh, this is interesting.
Okay. Yes, it is very interesting. So for many years, there were books out there, and I expect your listeners and your families will know about these books.
Right.
And it will something, potty train in 3 days, potty train in an afternoon, get the job done. You can do it. Yes. For years and years, it's been about getting the job done over 3 days.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And of course, this makes everybody want to rush out and buy that book and think, wow, this is it. Yeah. I won't worry about this for a very long time. I'm going to do it in 3 days. And there are lots of children that do manage it, in just a couple of days. I've had children that will pick it up in an afternoon. Yes. But that's not all children.
Right.
The problem is that focused and pressured approach to toilet learning have led to an enormous amount of children with toileting issues, such as significant constipation. So several things have aligned in our family communities. We've got pressured toileting. We've got more sedate children. We've got less healthy lifestyles and eating. We've got children going to school earlier. So all of these things combined have created an issue in which my diary is full of families who are struggling beyond what is reasonable with toileting that has gone wrong because it was so pressured.
Yeah.
They had to get it done, and their children were constipated. And now they've got children who, are significantly withholding their pee and poop through anxiety. It's a big issue.
Oh, wow. And plus, if they have anxiety, then they have other tummy issues as well, then, like we have as adults, isn't it? So
yeah, that's right. It's a big issue. And so what I'm really campaigning for is playful potty training. And and of course, parents will think, well, that's lovely. We'd all like to play and just potty train, and what an ideal Lisa that is. But it has to start with playfulness. It has to start with creating that environment where children want to return to something. And we know as educators that children learn through play, and that when children engage in an activity which is fun and they feel good about, they will naturally want to return to it because they're children, and that's what children do. But when we start this regimented regime of taking a child every 30 minutes, plying them with Smarties so that they'll do it, or stickers, or it gets confusing, it gets messy, it gets stressful.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think, you're right. I mean, this kid that peed on me, he's peed on me twice, but that's been longer than 3 days. It's been 2 weeks because I've seen them twice. So that's why I was like thinking, can't do it 3 days. This kid is not doing it 3 days, but
they don't. That's the thing. But then what happens is the parents start to think, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. I'm not very good at this. Or even worse, maybe there's something wrong with my child.
Yeah. I can just talking about it is stressful. Like, you can't. I don't think you can do it. Yeah, that's bonkers. I think you're right. Yeah, you've blown my mind. So I was dealing with a boy recently, but are boys harder to train than girls? Are they all safe?
Yeah, not at all. But everybody says that, and I think that there's that common myth that boys are harder than girls. But actually, do you know, a lot of my caseload, particularly in the long-term pee and poop withholding, are actually girls, not boys at all. I think sometimes we think, we have these stereotypical labels that we can attribute to gender, such as maybe boys. You hear this a lot, and I certainly don't agree with it, but boys are lazy when it comes to toileting. But actually, we've got to remember that boys can actually pee anywhere. Yeah. In many ways, they can be a little bit more simpler and easier, to toilet learn. And I sometimes think that we're training too late. We're missing the curiosity window that naturally comes in around 18 to 24 months. Right. I taught school, so I'm an professional nanny from when I was 18, and we were trained to do potty training when the children were about 18 to 20 months. But over the last 30 years, that's changed. And now we're trying to toilet train 3-year-olds who've got an idea that the world doesn't have to go the way that their parents say. And they realise they've got choices. And then that's when it goes really wrong. You hit a 3-year-old with we're going to toilet train in 3 days. And the toddler's thinking, no thanks.
No, yeah. And if they've already gone through the terrible twos, or they're doing the terrible twos at 3, they're going to be even more of a nightmare. Like, why would you do it then? Oh my God. No.
Yeah, it gets stressful.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Yeah, no, I remember my nephews in the terrible 2s and 3s, and they were a nightmare. I was so glad to just switch off from talking to them. So yeah, I can't imagine trying to get them to potty train then. So what comes first, pee or poo?
Both together, you see. But, what comes first, pee or poo? And sadly, a lot of families will think, oh, well, my child is toilet trained. In fact, I had a phone call from a family this morning. He said, my child is toilet trained. It's great. It's going really, really well, but they'll only poo in a nappy. Well, unfortunately, they aren't toilet trained just yet, but they're halfway there, which is great. But we do have to do the two things together. We have to, if we are going to do toilet learning, we need to remove those nappies and kind of go for it. We can't do half measure, because children get confused. They're not sure what you really want from them. And also it's that thing, they think, does she really mean it this time? Well, we don't decipher as well as adults, so and kids can definitely not think about what one to do in the nappy or not to do, right? So yeah, and we need to be really clear that if we're now going to move forward without nappies, that's what we're doing. However, children who, particularly older toilet learners who've been in a nappy for a very long time, find it really hard because they're so used to releasing their poop into a canopy.
Right, yeah.
So you imagine you're a toddler, you're walking around the playroom, you're having a lovely life, you can pee or poop whenever you like, you just drop it into the nappy, all done and dusted. And then one day someone says, hey, by the way, we want you to just pee and poop over there on that toilet.
Yeah.
You've got to get used to releasing it without something to catch it.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is where the poop withholding comes along, because the children sort of suck it back up, hold on to it, and they're like, oh no, I don't want to do it. And so mum and dad go and get a nappy and go, here you are, do it in that. And then we've got a problem.
All right, yeah, because they're just not learning. That's just fascinating. This is, I mean, I haven't had kids, so I haven't had to deal with any of that. Just nephews and nieces. So does it matter if the child is not potty trained for FS1? I'm guessing it's kind of
really does. It really does. And this is one of the reasons that my diary is just so full at the moment, because a lot of these little ones have gone off to school. They turned 3 maybe. They kind of a toilet learned. It was going okay. And then they'd gone into school and parents hoped for the best. And maybe thought when the school said, your child needs to be toilet learned, they thought, well, they don't really mean it.
Yeah.
And this family that rang up this morning, their child's been sent home from the school for the week, and the family have been told, you need to sort this week or she can't come to school. And this little person is having accidents all through the morning at school, and she's doing pees and poos everywhere, and schools don't have they're not daycare, they're not nursery, they're educational establishments, and so they don't have a care plan, they don't have the staff training. And I'm not saying they should, but they don't. So in many ways, if your child isn't, really confident with their toileting, FS1 in a school is not the place for them. They're better off staying in an early childcare centre,
right,
which is good, because now we have early childcare centres in Dubai, which means that you can leave your child there till 6. They receive exactly the same education as in school, right, but they'll also receive that care and pastoral support too.
Oh, that's good to know. Oh, yeah, that's brilliant then. Yeah, because then they can be trained properly, and somebody will be there to clean it up as well, I suppose, because teachers and
the skills, because otherwise it's really hard, and then, I keep telling you about all my families, that I've got this family at the moment where this little boy is going to school. He really, really wants to get it right. And the teacher says, she goes with him to the bathroom and she says, I'm afraid I can't help you. I'm not allowed to.
Yeah.
And he can't do all of the wiping and everything. And he comes home and he says, I don't understand why Mrs. James won't help me, Mummy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a different life at school. Yeah. She can't touch. Yeah. God, this is interesting, isn't it? Right. So what are your top tips to potty train?
Oh, my top tips would be, I think if I really speak from my heart right now to give these tips, and I'm imagining someone listening, would be, if you can, try to do your toilet learning around 18 to 26 months.
Right, okay.
If you've missed that window, don't panic. But if you have got a child that's showing interest, curiosity around that time, seize it, go for it.
Okay.
Because it can be an easier time to toilet learn.
Right, okay.
My second tip is be clear and consistent, but not pressured. And the third part, I would say, is prepare your child well. So that means lots of playful games around pottying, books, silly songs, brown Play-Doh, silly poop, novelty toys, anything to capture interest way before you started. Oh, and do you want one final tip?
Yes, of course.
Here's my final tip.
Okay, what's the final tip?
Before you start potty training, start changing them stood up.
Oh.
So that, they get used to that idea of going into the bathroom to have their nappy changed. Because we've got children, even at 3, laying on their backs on a changing mat, getting getting their nappies changed. That isn't taking them forward. That's not setting the right way and the tone of how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, well, choose your timing and remember that the most important person in potty training is actually you, the parent, because
Right.
you're the one setting the scene, setting the tone, creating the right environment. So you need to be doing it when you're okay, when you're coping well, and your house and your home is quite organised.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, I see that. Yeah. And we were talking before about mental health, and there seems to be a lot of people with mental health issues right now, and I'm seeing it at home. So, yeah, if you've got a cluttered up house and cluttered up life, your scheduling and your social life is cluttered, you're never going to find time to do, it's just going to be too much, isn't it? I mean, do you see that with clients, that when you go to their, you talk to them or you go to the houses, that you see they're overwhelmed just because of the life they lead?
Yes, I do see many, many families, in fact, all day, every day, overwhelmed, overstretched, overtired families. Do you know one of the things I think actually puts a lot of pressure on families here? And it's strange because we think it makes life easier. But nannies really clutter families. And it's a really controversial thing to say.
But true.
They're there to help, and yet you often go into a family where you've got a working mum trying to work from home, and you've got this nanny who really wants to get in and help mum, but she's not quite sure where her role begins and ends. And the children aren't sure who to follow, what the routine is.
Yeah.
And it's really challenging for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Nanny, child, and for the working parent. Working from home is hard going.
Yeah. And even if they go back to work, which is happening a lot now, they were going between home and work. But yeah, you're right. I see this with nannies and maids because they're not qualified nannies. They say they're nannies because they're good with kids, but that's it. And they don't have skills to do it in an organised way, set a schedule for the kid. They just play with the kids, feed them, wash them, change their nappies, and that's kind of it. So I think you're right.
It's an interesting one because I've just worked with a nanny recently. So sometimes some of my working families don't have time to actually meet me. So I work with their nanny.
Right.
And I work with this incredible nanny. Lani, big shout out. Anyway, so Lani was amazing. Once we empowered her and we gave her autonomy, she absolutely shined. Right. She was an absolute nanny queen. So I think sometimes there is an element of that some of our nannies aren't skilled or qualified, but there's also that element of that we're not necessarily giving them the resources and the autonomy to take that role. And it's so blurred that no one's quite sure who's in charge. And so when he says to the child, right, it's dinner time, you need to sit down, they're thinking, well, I don't need to really listen to you because you're not in charge. I'm going to run into that home working office where mum is, and then I sit at the dinner table. And so we've got chaos. One of the things I quite like to do is to give nannies a budget to buy resources and give them the autonomy to organise their playroom so they take control of their space. Have you ever seen that working with your work?
No, and I've never heard that. That is interesting. We'll have to talk about this a bit more, I think. We'll have to have another episode.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
We empower the nannies because they're sometimes an untapped resource. And under is this bubbling is a real capacity to do more for the families. And I quite like coaching nannies.
Yeah, no, there are. I think especially with nannies, because they're so ingrained into the family as well. I think, you're right, that they have got a willingness to learn and a willingness to do things. I mean, when I teach them how to fold the clothes and to put things away, a lot of them do love it. And, they love the label machine as well. So I think you're right. It's just empowering them, but it's doing it in a set way and a way that works for the parents as well. Because some parents, of course, then think, it's, there's more time, the nannies will get closer to the kids, and there's all that kind of issue as well then, isn't there?
Yes, well, that can sometimes come about, often I will meet nannies that are sleeping in children's bedrooms, and that's a blurring there, and having been a trained nanny, we have boundaries as nannies in the UK because that helps us to be efficient and to be able to deliver the best outcomes for children. And I think if there was one thing that I see really helping families is having boundaries, structure and a plan with your nanny. It doesn't mean you're giving them more time off. It just means that when they're with you, they're more efficient and they're able to deliver a better service for you and able to, to do a better job with the children.
Yeah.
But when you're on call all the time, it's a bit too much.
Yeah, no, it is way too much. And I think, as you said, I think people don't realise it's a job, especially people who've never had maids or nannies before and come here and got one in. You hear them say, oh, I think of them as family, and they don't think of them as an employee in the house who is providing a job and a service for the kids. And I think that's a shift as well that has to be made. Maybe, that's part of the training as well, that with the parents, that they have to treat them as providing a service for their kids.
I feel a training program coming along between the two of us.
I think so too. Yeah, I know. We're coming up with so many ideas. I think we definitely have to talk about this again. All right, so let's talk, as we've been talking about clutter, let's talk about toys, because I've seen you with your novelty toys. I do love that, the poop pillow. So, what do you see with kids, when you're doing your nanny training as well, that, the different methods of decluttering and organising of toys and playing with toys? What's your view on that?
Well, one of the things that I see a lot is overwhelming playrooms, particularly when I'm working. You see, a lot of my work isn't actually toileting. A lot of it's on behaviour.
Right.
And because I can't really fix toilet issues until I fix behaviour. And I will often work with family and I can see this playroom in the background, and even I feel stressed looking at it. I always encourage families to strip back.
Right.
So if they look into their playrooms right now, I say to them, 2/3 should be put away. It's that dramatic. And 1/3 of what's in a playroom is enough usually to really contribute towards a change and shift in behaviour.
Yeah.
In the Montessori learning method, you have something called you work off a shelf. So that means that you have a shelf, which is where there are toys, but I would almost say not toys. I would say resources which encourage learning through problem solving and meet the child where their development stage is. But you work off a shelf means that you take something off the shelf, you play with it and you put it back. One of the ways to do that in Montessori is you will have a mat. So you will have individual mats for children. So they take something off the shelf, they play with that resource until they complete that learning cycle, and then they put it back.
Right.
You then don't have that sharing either, which is, share, because actually all the children know that they can't have that whilst it's on that child's mat and it returns back to the shelf.
Right.
Now, that's how we work in a Montessori nursery classroom.
Yeah.
And you can bring some of those elements into your playroom, at home. So if you've got siblings, they can each have a play mat. So at least, well, this is me, and I'm allowed to fully play with my toy. So a bit more organisation, putting things away, everything having its place. But I often will send out tidy up tips. I'm happy to send them to anybody, any of your clients who ever contact you for this, is that sometimes we say to children, right, tidy up time. And of course they don't do it because actually it's too big. Tidy up, it's too big. So I like to encourage children I'm going to tidy up everything that is red. You're going to tidy up all the things that are brown today. So really make it specific. And if you put visual labels onto some of the toy boxes, at least the children have an idea of what goes in them. But they can't process the whole tidy up time when everything's a mess and there's just too much. Children play much better when there's less.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. And I mean, I deal with massive playrooms and small little corners in the living room full of lots of toys. And I totally agree. And labeling the boxes, and I like labeling it and putting pictures as well, so that they learn early what they're learning, not just a word, but also associating it with a picture as well. So it's easier to know where to put the toys back as well. So I totally agree. But that one about the colours, I just learned that trick a few months ago, and it does work with the kids. When you say, okay, help me to put all the blue things away and then the red things away, it makes it more exciting, and more of a game. And I think that goes with everything you're doing, that it's teaching them with games, isn't it? Making it more fun
and collaborative. So if I was, as a nanny, and I've been there, I would sit on the floor and we'd have, oh gosh, here we go, kids. Things are a little bit messy and tricky, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, do you remember we have got a rule, haven't we, that we always put the things away in our playroom before we have our dinner. So I'm wondering today, what are our options? Okay, so I'm thinking I could do the blue things, and I'm wondering whether you're going to choose the green things today or whether you're going to choose the yellow things. You choose.
Right.
So you've given them the concept that, yes, the boundary is we're going to have to do it before tea time.
Yeah.
You've also said to them, we're a team, we're going to work together, I'm here with you. I know it's tricky, I don't really want to do it either, but these are the rules. Yeah. And then you've given them a two-choice frame, which is, are you going to pick up the green things or the yellow? Yeah. You choose. When children think they're being given a choice, immediately there is that part of them that thinks, she really gets me.
Yeah.
We haven't got that I'm in charge, you listen, do what I say, power struggle sorts of things.
Yeah. No. That's awesome. And plus then once they've done one, they want to do more. So they'll keep on doing, they'll be like, I've got to put this away now, a different colour, isn't it? So
I really like the way that you're working in such a concentrated way today. And if you say those things, even though they might not be, it's called behaviour narration. And what it happens is when you narrate the behaviour that you want to see, children will naturally kind of get in line with it. But we do the opposite. We say things like, you're not clearing up. Why aren't you listening? Stop playing. We're using negative statements. And so, of course, the behaviour continues in that negative way. It's about switching language too as well.
Oh, that's amazing. I think I need to try that out more with the kids and change the way we talk about them as well. So how has parenting changed, since you've been doing this for 30 years now, dealing with kids and parents? So, I mean, we talked about it before with the pooping and toilet training. But what else has changed that you've seen?
I think one of the big changes is that almost, that's another controversial statement, almost at times as parents, we're being our children's therapists.
Right. In what way?
Okay, so what do I mean by that? Yeah. I really like it when we talk about feelings, and that's great, okay? It's great to talk about feelings. It's great to hold a space for feelings, particularly when they're big and overwhelming for toddlers. But I think we've got to remember as parents that it isn't our job to change our child's feelings. It's our job to actually hold the space for the feelings.
Right.
Not to jump in and try and counsel them out of it and sort of coaching them all the time. I think that we just have to accept that, yes, children sometimes feel sad. And that's okay. I feel like that.
Yeah.
But when parents are, and I'm seeing it more and more, they're tying themselves up in knots. They're tying themselves up in knots. And the children can't really see where the leadership is. And we are losing a sense of parental leadership. And I don't mean authoritarian parenting. I mean, collaborative parenting, but where at the end of the day, you are the leader, you are the hierarchy, you are the with all the experience. And so therefore you do need to lead a little. So I do think there's a sense that perhaps we might be losing our leadership sometimes in parents, and that makes children feel a bit unsafe.
Yeah.
And big, long, drawn-out conversations about feelings get so overwhelming, they get complicated. In actual fact, they can sometimes trigger more tantrums.
Yeah.
So that's where we might have seen the shift.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right. There's it's too much mentally for them, I think, as well, isn't it? Because it's too much for us. Where sometimes we don't want to talk about things. We just want to like watch Netflix and play on our phones and not talk to anybody. So why would kids want to do that? Like, for a long time.
And I hear sometimes questions that really are just too big. Like, Daddy's got a new job, and do you think it would be a good idea if we moved? Where would you like to move to? Do you like this school or that school?
Yeah.
You've got to remember that until we're 25, our frontal lobe, so that part of our brain where reason and logic is, doesn't fully develop until we're 25. So therefore, we do need to consider, yes, we want to give children some choice, but we've got to give them choices that are actually sensible, that are in line with their development stage. Because do you want to live in Dubai, or would you like to go back to the UK? How do you feel about it? Wow, that's scary.
That's scary just for an adult, let alone like for a child to think about. Like, no, that's crazy. Yeah, I think it's more about talking and saying, well, this is happening, isn't it? And this is the steps that we'll take. And an organizer did tell me about these, I can't remember what they're called. I'll have to find it. But they're great that they're like different pictures showing what's going to be happening in the next few stages. It helps a lot with ADHD.
So now, then, later, so making it visual.
Yeah.
That's where, because I get the sentiment from the parents, okay? I get the sentiment. They really want to empower their child to take ownership of their feelings, their personality, and that's a wonderful thing. But it has to be in the context of what they can process.
Yeah.
And actually making something visual, it's just a winning trick for any child.
Yeah.
Whether they are neurotypical or not, but visuals are great. And I like to do morning routines with 5 paper plates, setting out what children need to do, and then count through the 5 plates like on a washing line. Really visual. Such a simple thing, inexpensive, can work a treat, although it would look quite decluttered. It would look quite cluttering, wouldn't it, having a paper plate washing line hanging up?
No, that's fine if it's one set of paper plates, not 50. Let's not have 5 different plates, because that will be too much for them as well. Like, one set of plates will be fine, I think. And if it helps them, I think that it is for the kids, it's all about visual, isn't it? Visual and chatting away with them as well. It makes it easier for them to process it, I think, for all kids, isn't it?
In conclusion of what you've just said is that you spoke about it in the beginning. It's about mental health, well-being, and well-being families, I believe, is really overwhelming for families right now. We've come from COVID. Perhaps we haven't really given a nod to how it felt, that trauma as a family of the big life change. The pressures of work. And we're trying so hard to be great parents, in society at the moment. But it's also kind of overwhelming for our little people. They're struggling with their feelings as well. So it's great to talk about feelings and hear and accept them. But I think what I'm trying to say is that there also needs to be some sense of that, well, yes, we do have feelings, but there are things like, well, we do have to go to school today. But I get that you feel really unsure about that. I hear that, I understand that. But after school we go.
Yeah. I think, it's, as you said, there has to be discussion, but there has to be boundaries. It has to be that middle ground, which is always difficult for anyone to get to, it's been a difficult few years though, isn't it? So it's been challenging.
And, and I work with very small children a lot of the time. And one of the things is that we've got a lot of 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds who are under socialized. And, in that under socialization, we're now moving them straight into school. And that, that in itself has been a hard thing, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah. I think, and especially having to deal with the socialization bits after being stuck at home for so long. It's a nightmare. But anyway, let's talk happy things. What single thing could a family do today to help them? So let's be positive for our last few questions.
Well, in what relation to which challenge? What single things?
Let's talk about. Well, we were talking about pooping before. What single thing could they do today to help them?
If you've got a child with a pooping issue, it's possible that there's some constipation in there.
Right.
So, do talk to your doctor.
Okay.
That would be my first thing. Yes.
Yeah. What would you say? One tip you could give them if they need to start toilet training. How would you get to that point of starting the toilet training properly with your kids?
Yeah, I think the best advice I can give somebody is don't spend all night Googling, reading every single book. Just ring me.
Right.
I can make life. I'll tell you what to do, what to say, what to wear, the whole thing. Just give it to you, and then you don't need to spend hours and hours Googling. Aside from that, please don't start toilet learning until you've prepared your child.
Right.
And preparation means things like what I just said earlier. Started to change them stood up.
Right. Yeah.
Small shifts. Help them to build in some skills that are going to take them into that. So pushing and pulling up our pants.
Yeah.
Toilet paper down the toilet, flushing it, looking at your poo-poo. Let's actually talk about poo-poo and not keep it covered up, because otherwise it can be too much of a shock. Got to fall in love with Mr. Poo-poo.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. You need to start acknowledging that you have this coming out of your bottom.
Not just for children, for adults. You think about the work. I don't know if you're familiar with Bowel Babe, that wonderful lady in the UK that she passed away recently with bowel cancer. Right. She millions around awareness on poop.
Right.
So I think we've got to talk about it and get it out there so that these children don't struggle.
Yeah, no, they do. I think you're right. Like, even adults don't talk about this kind of stuff as well. And, I find it hilarious. I use the menstrual cup and I tell friends about it and I say, what I see in the cup, and I find it fascinating how much it fills up. And my friends get disgusted by me. And I'm like, but it's a normal thing that all women go through at some point in their life, unless, of course, they have a medical condition. But yeah, you need to know how much blood is coming out of you. But yeah, they don't. Yeah, it's.
Well, luckily I passed that stage.
Yeah.
So that's all behind me. Oh, you poor girls.
I know. One day soon it will stop and I'll stop having the... Oh, it's the worst thing, isn't it? But anyway, on that high note, on that bloody note that we had, thank you so much for chatting. It's been so interesting and thought-provoking as well. There's so many things I just didn't know about and realize that it's fascinating. So yeah, and you've given so many amazing tips. So thank you so much, Lisa. I really, really do appreciate it. And yeah, we'll have to collaborate. I think we'll definitely have to do a collaboration together. So how can people find you, get in touch with you, talk to you? Give us all your details.
Well, I'm not very good at the advertising and the marketing part of it. So most of the time in Dubai, people kind of know about me through a friend, which is lovely. I'm often on the Helen Farmer show, so that sometimes people hear me there. But I'm mostly on Instagram, which is Prince_Lisa, and I share a lot there. I also invite families all the time for free workshops. I believe in giving back to our community. So I have 3 workshops running. So get me on Instagram, Prince_Lisa, or you can send me a WhatsApp. My WhatsApp's there on Instagram, or an email. And just, let's chat. I offer families a discovery call, just kind of 10, 15 minutes for them to tell me where they are.
Yeah.
And for me to say, your next step might look like this. And then they go away, think about it, and I might not hear from them for a while, and then I hear back from them. So, when the time is right, reach out to me.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So we're going to put all your details in the show notes as well, so that everybody knows. Thank you again for being on. It's been amazing. I really do appreciate it. And so thank you so much for listening to the Declutter Me podcast. If you'd like to get more tips and tricks, please follow us on social media. I'm on every social media platform, including TikTok, at DECLUTTRME. And thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week. Take care. Bye.